Because the Memphis Grizzlies struggled with so many injuries and off-court issues last season, I think it gets overlooked just how dominant they were with all their pieces, and I'd go as far as to say they'll probably be better on both ends of the floor now. The loss of Tyus Jones hurts, especially with Ja's suspension, but among the top 11 guys on the team in minutes, they retain 9 of them, replacing Tyus and Dillon Brooks with Derrick Rose and Marcus Smart. So, in essence, the Grizzlies are simply just taking Brooks out of the lineup and tossing Smart in, which takes their ceiling to a completely different territory. There's no doubt in my mind that Dillon Brooks was one of the best point of attack defenders in the NBA last year. The way he puts pressure on the ball, gets around screens, moves his feet, and uses his core strength makes him a pretty good matchup for just about every team's lead ball handler. He just gets into the teeth of offensive players and destroys them with his physicality, which is incredibly valuable. But the thing is, Marcus Smart also has a lot of these qualities. Matched up with Steph on the ball, he's gonna hug him all the way into the screen before darting into an angle under it so that he can both deter the three-pointer and remain in position to defend a drive, completely walling off the rim and sending Curry's finish to the baseline. What he's trying to do at the point of attack is take angles that allow him to beat ball handlers to a certain spot or angle to the paint, and then use his body to absorb any contact and dictate where the shot goes. Because he has a 6'9" wingspan and incredibly strong lower body, he can do this against any type of attacker. This time it's the much bigger John Collins, taking that shoulder to his core and holding his position so that he can swipe at the ball and force a turnover. His hands are always active and super sharp, which when paired with his length allows him to make plays on the ball like this. Lowry's looking to come off a ball screen into open space on the left wing, so Smart jumps over the top and sticks his arm out to blow up the action. One thing I will say is that Smart doesn't have the quickest feet in the world. He's definitely someone who's subject to quick changes of direction or shiftier guards. Trae Young was able to get around him pretty consistently in the playoffs. But it's worth noting that on a team like Memphis, blow-bys aren't actually as big of a deal because Jaren Jackson Jr. is always back there just itching to clean up around the rim. I also think some of the drawbacks of getting beat off the dribble are mitigated by Smart's own switch ability. When Garland turns the corner on a drive, Horford and Rob Will are drawn to protect the paint. Typically that leads to an advantage and someone on the court is open, but Smart just seamlessly peels in front of Mobley to steal a pass. That switchability means that he can pick up any potential threat, and the rest of the defense doesn't really have to worry about it, and preventing dribble penetration becomes a lot easier when you always have a body to throw in front of the ball without giving up numbers. You'll see possessions where he's just switching onto everyone, starting on Franz at the point of attack, switching onto Paolo off the screen, before darting back out to the perimeter to pick up Terrence Ross, who he runs off the line, cuts off, and smothers on a mid-range jumper. He'll even start some plays matched up with the opposing big initially, so that he's already in position to switch when the screen happens. Dame wants to turn the corner, but Smart is agile enough to close the space. And just like that, the offense is reset for a perimeter isolation, with the result being a much tougher step back three. Here's another one where he starts on the big, and when a wing instead comes up to set the screen, to keep himself involved in the primary action, he's going to communicate a pre-switch. Then when the screen comes, he can pick up the ball in space, and again it's a tough off the dribble 3-point miss. When he finds himself on bigs and they try to take advantage in the post, his combination of length, active hands, and sturdiness allows him to offer legitimate resistance. Bam isn't able to make much ground backing his way in, and although he still has that angle over the top because of his height, it's not as clean of a look as you'd expect from posting up a 6'3" guard. Since the 2021 season, Smart has defended 144 post-ups and allowed just 116 points on those possessions. That's 0.81 points per attempt, a mark that not even some of the game's best post defenders have reached. He's capable of playing a lot bigger than his position or size, which allows a backcourt of Ja and Desmond Bane to flourish without giving up too much on the interior. That was another reason Dillon Brooks was so important to their defense. He also had that brick wall to his game, switching up and defending post-ups incredibly well. But where you really start to see the difference between a Dillon Brooks and a Marcus Smart is when they're away from the ball. Brooks makes some weird rotation to the nail that was pretty pointless, and when he looks to recover to SGA on the wing, he's kind of unaware and takes a bad angle, which results in a wide open lane on a backdoor cut. Here's another example of those issues, taking a peek at the ball and losing his man entirely, almost looking completely clueless as he causes another breakdown that results in points at the rim. You compare that to a real similar play but with Smart defending. He picks up a Kongwu on a switch and finds himself recovering from behind, but he recognizes the action and that Trey's gonna lob it up top, so he bursts into a full sprint to beat the pass to the lane and blow up the play. Smart is just amazing when it comes to recognizing threats in the offense and making reads to take them away. Just look at how seamless this is, almost like Boston's baiting the Kings into a trap. Fox is going to set a cross screen and slip, but Smart's attached to him on a string and jumps in front of the cut to force a turnover. On this one, he's defending Strus in the corner and recognizes that Miami wants to set up their offense through Bam on the elbow. So what he's going to do is just patiently wait for Vincent to make the entry, and as soon as it leaves his hands, he pounces into the lane. Whereas many perimeter defenders have a problem of being too infatuated with their individual matchup, Smart is the exact opposite. A lot of guys would be hesitant to help off of Damian Lillard here, but as soon as a drive gets close to the paint, he's darting in front of it to shut off the rim. He's arguably the best nail defender in the NBA. Rozier's gonna isolate against Horford on a switch, and as soon as he takes just one dribble towards the middle of the floor, Smart's in attack mode, and actually readjusts his positioning so that he can make a play on the ball. It's not just at the nail, but even as the low man, his positioning is just so sharp. Notice how he pre-rotates from the weak side so that if Beal beats Grant Williams on a drive, he's there to meet him early, which is exactly what happens, and he saves what would have been a free 2 points. These rotations allow him to protect the rim at a solid level in a way that most 6'3" players just aren't capable of doing. And it's not that he's meeting attackers vertically and blocking a ton of shots, but rather just positioning himself in a way that makes his presence known and makes those easy opportunities just a little bit tougher. Another piece to the puzzle is perfect timing, knowing exactly when and where to slide down. He waits for Bam to turn his back so that he can't see him coming, then puts his body directly in between him and the basket, which results in an offensive foul. A lot of his time spent on defense is as a sort of free safety, roaming the court and picking up potential threats as he sees fit, almost serving as a sort of mini Draymond, and I'm pretty confident in saying that he's the only 6'3" player in the NBA who can perform in these spots in the manner that he does. Another attribute you get with Smart is the high-level communication. He's a true defensive quarterback when he's behind the play, and he'll direct traffic like some of the smartest minds we've seen on a court. I think this is something Memphis lacked last season. Triple J is a capable anchor and free safety, but doesn't seem to be the vocal on-court presence of a Draymond or Chris Paul type of guy, and having an on-court coach can really bring the best out of the team. The only thing I'm really worried about at all is the foul trouble between him and Jackson. I do feel like this is a team that's going to allow opponents to live in the bonus. But then again, he's replacing Dillon Brooks, who was second in the NBA in fouls among non-bigs. So really it's an improvement in that department as well. Last season, the Grizzlies had a 111.2 defensive rating in the games that Jaren played, which is about a half a point better than Cleveland's #1 defense. When the Defensive Player of the Year played, they were the best defensive team in the NBA. And barring injury, I think they got even better, so this is definitely the identity of the squad, which I think most people already expected. I mean, obviously putting the last 2 Defensive Player of the Years on the same team is gonna elevate your defense, but it's the other side of the ball that's a bit more intriguing. Like Brooks, Smart is gonna let that thing fly. It doesn't matter if it's in transition, early in the shot clock, smothered, He's getting his 5 to 6 3-point attempts one way or another, and it's funny because he's not actually a great shooter. He's hit just 37% of his wide open threes since 2021, landing in the 37th percentile. And over that time, he's very consistently been a 33% shooter overall. Although to his credit, that's gone up to about 36 in the playoffs, and that isn't juiced by one outlier stretch, actually improving each year. When he pulls the trigger, I'm not sure a soul in existence knows whether or not it's falling, and I don't know if it's the confidence, the volatility, or what, but he actually draws hard closeouts at a decent rate and has a pretty nice game off the catch. He's good at faking and attacking on drives, reads the defense well, and makes the right plays, which is incredibly valuable next to an advantage creator like Ja and a shooter like Bane. He'll also use his own shooting threat to create passing angles. He gathers and loads up as if looking to fire, and Hartenstein knows that he will take that shot no matter how contested, and when he jumps out to close, that leaves Blake Griffin with a slip to the basket for 2. Smart is genuinely a high-level passer who can capitalize on impossibly tight windows. He jumps to catch the ball, and while in midair recognizes that Tatum's beat his man on a backdoor cut, so while landing he throws a backwards bounce pass with pinpoint accuracy, and the result is a contact dunk. Here's another one, initiating from the wing, and when Brown cuts down the middle of the lane, Caleb Martin loses him for just a fraction of a second, which is all it takes for some real easy offense at the rim. Something that stands out in his passing game is the versatile bag of deliveries and angles he's comfortable going to, this time facing the right corner and hooking it laterally over his head, and just look at where it's placed. All Rob Will has to do is just guide it into the hoop. He's also incredibly creative in how he's gonna get the pass from point A to point B, this time getting into the lane and taking off as if looking to finish vertically, which draws the attention of Bull before flicking a rainbow over the back of his head, and it's another freebie for Williams. His combination of creativity and ability to hit tight windows really stands out in transition, where he reads the floor well, directs traffic, and hits teammates in stride with his sharp bounce passes. Here's one where he recognizes that Jaylen Brown has a runway to the basket, but with 2 defenders on his rear and Harden playing the lane, it has to be right down the pipe. Just look at the speed and precision as it gets to Brown for a wide open dunk. He's not much of a shot creator at all, but I do think his strength gives him a pretty big advantage against certain matchups, just going right through Tyrese Halliburton as he bullies his way to the cup. He rarely ever gets a touch in isolation, but is capable of attacking weaker defenders like this. This time Halliburton actually braces himself and gets real skinny to absorb the contact, so instead of going through him, Smart spins back to the middle of the floor for an offhand finish. His handle, lack of burst, and decision-making woes prevent him from being a consistent initiator or guy who's going to gain a bunch of advantages for the offense. He's also pretty inefficient and will definitely lose your team possessions, but it's not quite as extreme as it was with Brooks, and I think he offers some nice wrinkles to the offense through his passing. With 3 scorers leading the charge in Ja, Bane, and Triple J, multiple lob threats, tons of shooting, I think Smart's ability to connect the offense through high-level passing, quick decisions, and playing off the catch fits pretty well, and I expect them to add a couple new layers to the offense. That's in addition to having arguably the best defense in the NBA. They have the potential to be a two-way powerhouse, so don't sleep on them as a potential tier 1 contender. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of the trade. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.